coming to America, I liked it. I got a lot of encouragement from the folks that live around here, from firefighters, from just the people living here. It was more of a you can do it attitude, and I wasn't getting that in England. Like, I don't think I was looked at as having no prospects. But once I got to this country, I got a lot of encouragement. Then I get on the fire department. Of course, you bond together with the folks at the fire station. You see, there's a lot of bravery, a lot of acts of bravery on the fire department that it doesn't get seen. Honestly, when you're the chief or even interim chief, you sort of take it personal. Like, what am I doing? What can I be doing more? And I'm always trying to think, what can I do better in regards to the members' mental health. In a department with 2,300 people, I do not have one of the dangerous jobs. Like, I would not sit here and talk about great things that I'm doing when there's all these firefighters, men and women, that are doing heroics and brave things every day. I'm not doing it. I'm sat at a desk a lot of the time. So I wouldn't, I'm not the most important. But yeah.
You're listening to the ATO Bridging the Divide podcast, brought to you by the Susy Officer Foundation.
Since 1999, the ATO has given assistance to the first responder community, and now we want to give them a platform to hear their incredible stories.
We also want to hear the stories of the many people that support us.
Our community is small, but it is strong.
We have differences. We don't always agree, and we all make mistakes.
But together we can grow, we can heal.
And we can learn from those mistakes.
And together we can bridge the divide.
The American Dream. The American Dream is a phrase referring to a purported national ethos of the United States, that every person has the freedom and opportunity to succeed and attain a better life. The phrase was made famous by James Truslow Adams. Adams defined it as that dream of a land in which life should be better and richer and fuller for everyone, with opportunity for each according to ability or achievement. It is not a dream of motor cars and high wages merely, but a dream of social order in which each man and each woman shall be able to attain the fullest stature of which they are innately capable, and be recognized by others for what they are, regardless of the fortuitous circumstances of birth or position. There are some key elements of the American dream: freedom and opportunity, hard work and determination, meritocracy, social mobility. When you really stop and think about this dream, the core idea is that anyone can achieve their potential regardless of their starting point. The belief that individuals are rewarded based on their abilities and achievements rather than their social status or connections. Today's guest, his story reminds me of the American dream. Because of his extreme hard work, focus, and natural ability to lead, he has now climbed the mountaintop of his profession in the city of Dallas. We are proud to welcome on Dallas Fire and Rescue's 18th Chief in their long history, Chief Justin Ball. Chief, thanks for coming on here.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've been, you were interim for a while, and then once you finally got the gig, I was like, I got to get this going. I've never had on one of the Dallas Fire Chiefs, and you're the 18th Chief of DFR?
Yeah, 18th.
Okay, I'm surprised. I was looking at that. I was totally surprised that there's only been 18 chiefs in DFD's long history, because DFD was around long before, almost a decade before DPD.
think started in 1872.
Yes, sir. That's right.
Yeah, they seem to stay a long time once they get to be chief.
Yeah. So you got 20 years in you?
20 more?
20 more years as the boss?
God, I hope I live 20 more.
Yeah. Well, I'm with you. Before we get rolling into this, I want to welcome on guest co-host Susy. Tell the listener who you are.
Susy Solis. I'm the Assistant Director of PIO for Dallas Fire.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And please feel free to jump in. My podcast partner, Kent's here.
I'm here.
I want to thank you so much, Chief, for supporting the Assistant Officer Foundation. You got your first taste of one of our big events, our largest event, actually, in the Bags for Badges. It's our 10th annual, and you came out. You took the mic and got on the stage, and you welcomed everybody. I just want to say thank you for that, because that meant a lot to the people there, and you actually hung around the entire time and mingled and took photos, and they really appreciated it.
Well, I appreciate being invited and appreciate what you lot are doing, so anytime.
Thank you, boss. So we're going to I'm going to hold you to that. It's going to be on the air now, so now I know you're very busy, but we really appreciated it, and I have been getting text and emails about your appearance, and everybody was very grateful because, people hear the Assistant Officer Foundation. Yes, it started as only helping Dallas police, but we have since grown, and we help out local PDs in the Metroplex, and we also help out fire departments as well. And Dallas Fire Department is our biggest. I mean, we 30% of our counseling bill went to you guys because that's what we do. And also, if you have an injury, illness, we've got quite a few people that have reached out that have had an on-duty or off-duty injury, or their spouse or their children have an injury or illness that we have also helped out, and that's what we're for. So.
Yeah, no, I'm well aware of how much you support us, and it's the minimum we should do is show up to events like that, support you, and advocate for this group.
Thank you, sir. So I want to go ahead and dive into this. You've been on Dallas Fire and Rescue as long as I've been with DPD, and we're still going, except I'm down at the bottom and you're at the top of this mountain, and you're leading this great organization. So I want to take it back to 97. What got you over here? You got over in the States over 30 years ago. You've been on DFR for over 28 now. Is that correct?
Yeah. I've been DFR 28 years. I got to the States a few years before that.
Okay. What year did you get over to the States?
Maybe 94.
Okay.
93. Can't remember.
What got you to Dallas, Texas?
I was hitchhiking, and I got picked up and brought to Dallas.
Okay.
I didn't have a lot of direction. I was just around and about. So got picked up, brought to Dallas, and then I had a baby.
That changed everything.
It was one of them hitchhiking trips.
Okay.
Ended up having a baby, and still I wasn't doing very well in life. And, the reason I joined, I had a 1-year-old baby, needed money, didn't have any prospects. Then I got cancer, and I was told by the doctor I was going to die. And it's okay, I didn't. But, I went for a long time thinking I was going to die, and then they said the machine was wrong when I went for a checkup. I mean, I did have cancer, but the machine, the MRI showed that it had spread everywhere, so they told me I was going to die. And, my life hadn't been that great up to that point, so it didn't bother me that much. It did the fact that I had a baby, and I'd never done anything good in my life at all up to that point, and that's what it sort of bothered me, that I'd never done anything good. And I remember driving and seeing a house fire in Garland, and seeing them go inside, and just thinking, I would like to do something like that and help people. And that's sort of the first time I started thinking about it, really.
Having a kid will change your perspective on just about everything in life. But you said you didn't have any money.
No, I didn't have a job.
In 1997, what was the fire department starting you at?
26.5.
That's barely a livable wage,
Well,
right?
hey, it's better at that time. That was better than what you had. And
Yeah, and I got hired at another department at the same time that was paying 37, but I didn't want to go there because it wasn't a big city. I wanted to be the biggest city.
yeah, and that is very inspiring that you actually were at that moment of your life. You know, every day past that, I would imagine you look at it as a gift to have cancer and overcome it, and then you have a newborn.
Yeah, it was sort of hectic, but I sort of grew up that way, so I was okay. I remember I think I was in the fire academy still having radiation therapy and hoping they wouldn't see the scars on my stomach, because I thought that if they saw it, they would fire me. But yeah, it was sort of stressful for a few years, and then it drifted away.
That's amazing that it is literally, you haven't heard the intro yet, but the listeners have by now. But it is like the epitome of the American dream, I believe, of coming over here, starting literally from the bottom, and then we're going to get into where you're at now. And in the American dream, I learned more about where that phrase come from in the 1930s by an author, and you'll hear it as well. But it is inspiring to hear from somebody that I did not know about the cancer. I mean, that is another incredible added touch to this. But to go by a house that's on fire, see them go in to take care of it, and think, wow, that's something I want to do for service for others.
Yeah, I didn't ever finish high school in England. Am I revealing too much, Susy? Are you going to stop me?
It's up to you.
But I didn't, and so, you needed 45 college credit hours to get on the fire department back then. I didn't even finish high school, but I didn't really know anything about the system. I went to the college. I'd been out of school since I was 15, and I went to the college to sign up, and I took the tests, and I didn't do very well. I had to, they told me I had to, I think, do 2 or 3 years in developmental courses until I would actually be able to get credit for a course.
Right.
And that was sort of a deal breaker for me because I had a baby and needed money, and I could not spend 3 years in college before I even start getting credit for it. So I begged them to let me retake the tests, and they gave me books to study. I went to the library, and I think I had to take the test 10 days later, and I passed all the tests and got the 45 hours as quick as I could.
When you first started, what were your short-term goals and your long-term goals?
Stay alive and pass the course. Once I got hired, I never had a goal. I was going to move back to England one day, and I did my thing on the fire department, and I just took one step at a time, one promotion at a time. Never looked beyond a certain rank. I just, when an opportunity came up, I took the test. I wasn't a rising star. I was just doing my thing, and then up to making captain. Once I made captain, I got a divorce, and I realised that I would not be going back to England ever because of the kids. So once I resigned myself to staying here, it was sort of weird. Everything changed because I knew I was going to stay in this country forever. I started liking it here more. and I really started getting into the fire department more.
What appealed at that point? What did the culture mean to you, and what appealed most about the DFD culture at the time? It was DFD at the time.
Well, not just DFD, but coming to America, I liked it. I got a lot of encouragement, like from the folks that live around here, from firefighters, from just the people living here. It was more of a "you can do it" attitude, and I wasn't getting that in England. Like, I don't think I was looked at as having no prospects. But once I got to this country, I got a lot of encouragement. Then I get on the fire department. Of course, you bond together with the folks at the fire station. You see, there's a lot of bravery, a lot of acts of bravery on the fire department that it doesn't get seen. You know, when you're in a fire, you can't see anything anyway, but the media don't really see it. But it was like shocking to me, some of the stuff these firefighters do. When I first got in the field, I remember, and I wasn't a wimpy dude, but I remember my first fire. It was pretty big, and I'm just thinking, they're not going to make me go inside there, surely. And I remember going in, putting the fire out, and then afterwards just thinking, I'm not going to do that again. Like, this is ridiculous. It's too dangerous. And then I looked around me at these firefighters. They didn't look like superheroes. They were regular folks. And I'm just thinking, surely you get used to this. If they can do it, I can do this. But it was really scary at first.
I would imagine. I have to say that I worked Southeast for almost 20 years, and I've never run into a burning house or building, and I don't think I want to.
Well, I don't think you can really, with the academy, that we go in fires, but it doesn't do justice, really going in. That's why now I think back, and when I look at what our folks are doing, they're doing great things. They really are.
Well, I believe that when you talk about the media not really covering it, and just the average citizen, they don't really get to see what you do. They don't get to see what we do, but when it comes to having life and death and really in your possession every day, just the medical emergencies alone, not the big roaring fire where you have to go in and put it out. It's just you respond to the fatality accidents, you respond to the medical emergencies, then and you lose, and people, it's their time, and your men and women are there for that.
Yeah, and as you go up the ranks, you can get removed from that, and you got to remind yourself the stuff they're actually doing and seeing. It's pretty hectic out there. They see everything, and not only that, they also are put in danger. It's an inherently dangerous job. We try and be as safe as we can. We want them to be as safe as possible, but there are inherent dangers to it.
Yes, sir. It's even driving the truck and the ambulances. I mean, that is a danger in itself.
Yeah.
We're going to get into later on about what you just talked about, all the dangers, the physical danger that you're exposed to, and other people's grief nonstop that you have to be exposed to, and that is a lot to weigh on a mind.
Yeah, it is, and we never used to talk about it, the mental well-being of our members back years ago, but now it's we've had quite a few suicides, and
yes, sir.
Honestly, when you're the chief or even interim chief, you sort of take it personal. Like, what am I doing? What can I be doing more? And I'm always trying to think, what can I do better in regards to the members' mental health? And I've got to realize that I'm not the expert at that. So I added more peers, but like lately I reached out to the head of psychiatry from UT Southwestern and got a meeting, and really just to ask them, what can we do? can you help us? And graciously, they wanted to help, and they're putting a team together and going to actually start studying our department and come up with a plan of how they can assist us. So that's what I'm doing at the moment.
Kudos to your part. We're going to get back into it more in a bit, but it is something I know that that y'all were actually doing before we were doing, going that direction. And that is one of the missions of this show that you're on, is to bring this conversation to the forefront, because I believe you can't talk about it enough.
Yeah, no, that's correct.
Yeah, that's why I think the culture of support has to be grown from within, and communication is so important because people don't know that there are resources, they don't realize it, or also just the culture in general with first responders. Oh, we don't talk about this, we're tough, we can deal with it, and we've learned that's not necessarily the case.
No, it's not. It's not the case, and I'm proud to say that our counseling numbers have tripled since this unit's inception and since this show's inception. And I think as a profession, PD and fire, it has already been going in that direction, thankfully, for years, and it is now catching fire, and more people going to counseling, more people going to rehab. That is a positive side effect of culture change, which is when you and I started, and you just didn't talk about this. Yeah. And then imagine how it was before we got on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, you'd be ridiculed if you talked about it back then. Now it's, you've got to talk about it for self-preservation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, think about, from your position here as a chief, do you think that chiefs in the past used to take it personal when they lost a firefighter, either to suicide or on duty?
I don't know, because I'd never talked about it. There's a lot of things I didn't know about being the chief. I didn't know about all the appearances, and you don't know what's going to bother you or really until you're sitting in the seat. But yeah, I don't know in the past. I know I would take it personal. I'd never, before being interim, I'd never spoke at a funeral, and then I ended up just in my interest speaking at 4 young men, and you know, when I'd get a phone call in the middle of the night, my heart's skipping a beat. It bothers me, but that's, you know, that's why I'm constantly trying to think, what can I do about this, and it frustrates me when I don't have all the answers.
Well, there's a lot of questions that are going to come up as a chief, right? Mm-hmm. And it's any sort of leadership position. But as long as you continue to take it personal, you're going to do just fine. Like, you should take it personal, right? And that's a big thing for a leader to do, is understand that they are responsible for some of the stuff that's happening. Mm-hmm. But to recognize that and to say, like, I take that personally, that means a lot to me. So I appreciate that aspect.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know your troops underneath you are gonna know that. And I gotta say that I have quite a few, since I've been doing this show. I have more firefighter friends since 2021 than I have since I've been on since '97, and I'm very grateful for that. I'm grateful to have such connection with your department and other fire departments that are outside of Dallas, and it really, because of sitting here on this mic, and I'm not an expert either, but it is my job, it is Kent's job, it is Casey's job, it is Marion's job to put you in a position where you do not have to get that late night call, or put you in a position where you don't have to hand over a folded flag. We don't want, that's what our mission is, to help you. And that's what my mission of this show is, to help you and support you.
Yeah, and we appreciate that.
So I want to get into some of the technological advances you've seen in almost 3 decades here. We have a lot of listeners that are non-fire, non-first responder. We have quite a few, actually. I want you just to kind of explain some of the procedures that have a beautiful 11-year-old daughter, Carmen, that like you're explaining something to her. I read something about the significance of the 2-in, 2-out procedure. Can you kind of describe that to us?
Yeah, it's 2-in, 2-out is a NFPA 1500 guideline, and basically what it is, you know, when you come up to a fire and it's a fire engine. There's 4 members on the fire engine, and the 2 in 2 out is you don't go in unless you have 2 go in and 2 outside with a line that are ready to come and rescue the 2 that are in. There's exceptions. An incipient fire, which would be something so small you could put it out with a portable unit. You wouldn't, wait for another company to come, because by the time they do, the probably house will be gone.
Right.
So that's an exception. Also, when there's a rescue, so it's really broad whether you could go in or not, because a decision has to be made, and it's hard to know if someone's in a house or not. So you've always got the rescue thing going, and it's hard for our members not to go in. It's, a house is burning, it's hard. You very rarely see them standing there waiting.
Its instincts kick in.
Yeah, you can't legislate courage.
Yeah, so, we want them to be as safe as humanly possible. But, they have to make a decision. Could someone be in this place? And, there's the obvious signs, nighttime, cars in the driveway, someone running out and saying, my baby's inside. Well, that's the obvious, but then there's the not obvious. You can daytime. Particularly since COVID, and a lot of folks work at home, and their car might be in the garage and you can't see it. So, but it's an effort to make firefighters as safe as possible.
Do you know about what time that kind of came to Dallas Fire? That procedure?
I have no idea, but
Okay.
I know we've done it since I've been on, and that's 28. Yeah, it's been.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is hard to imagine that actually being a practice where that wasn't the thing, because it sounds like almost for the layman, like a buddy system type procedure.
Yeah.
And also just accountability, that people waiting outside that way, because I've had on David Lindsay, I've had on Chief Bill, who was badly burned, and I've had on Jeff Patterson, who was extremely burned. And it is, once you're inside there, you can't see anything.
Nothing. And I mean, sort of along the lines of the 2 in, 2 out, but we, a few years back, maybe 3 years back, we implemented RIT teams. We used to have a RIT team before. It'd just be one of the companies that show up, you're it, but no specialized training. And now we have, at every fire gets a RIT engine. The members are specially trained with special equipment to go in and rescue a downed firefighter or lost firefighter.
Explain what RIT stands for.
A Rapid Intervention Team, or Rapid Intervention Company, sometimes RIC. And they're specially trained. They go to every fire and they stand by. They're not committed to firefighting, and they're ready to rescue anyone that's trapped or lost. And there's been a lot of saves since I've been in.
I can imagine that. Yeah, I'm glad you asked that, Susie, because I was going, what is that? But so basically, it's like a standby ambulance and rescue team. Do they go through the same training or similar training?
Yeah, they're firefighters. They function as firefighters, but they also have this additional training, where they'll go in, search, and be able to find the people that are lost.
How large is that force? How large is that team?
It's large. We've got 10. So every district has a company. And they are the RIT team in their second alarm. In their first alarm district, they're a regular firefighting engine, but on their second alarm district, they'll be the RIT team. So it's taken us a long time to train all these, and now we're switching from the engine to the truck. When we get to the trucks, it'll be 23 trucks all the time that are trained.
So they pretty much show up at every fire.
Yeah, every single fire. They're at every single one alarm fire.
Wow. So business and residential, they show up.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I didn't know I did. And that's why we like doing these to educate. Not only, there's other fire departments that listen to this, and they don't have the luxury of all we have here.
Yeah, no, it's a great program. And again, we just put it in a few years ago, but it works, and it saved some lives already.
That's incredible. I have on my notes here for thermal imaging. How do y'all utilize that as far as your entering these locations?
Yeah, every officer on the apparatus has a thermal imager. I suppose when I got on, we didn't have them. They're pretty good. They're not, it's not like you go in and you can see everything perfectly still. The screen gets all, creosote all over it, so it's hard to see through. It has its place. Sometimes it's better than others, but you still have to be feeling around and get used to looking for fire with no eyes, because you can feel the heat, you can hear it, but you'll be surprised you don't really see it till you're right up on it. Even though it's really hot, but it's hard to find sometimes. And even with the thermal imager helps, but I suppose the thermal imager helps more with, you'll go to some buildings and you can't find the fire, and you'll look through the walls and you'll see fire through the walls. Sometimes I used to use it on a roof, like
to look down and that's okay.
Yeah, see where the fire is, because you want to cut the hole above the fire.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: so is it sensitive enough where it would, like, say there's a fire on the left side of the house? Would it be sensitive enough to catch a human in the other side of the house? Is it that sensitive where it could see that?
Yeah, it not from the outside of the house. Once you're inside, it can pick them up.
Okay.
But there's factors, like it's, when the whole house is hot, everything's looking hot. You know what I mean? Because it's recognizing the heat.
Of course.
So, it's sometimes hard to see through that.
That's fascinating. So it's kind of like, it reminds me of our FLIR that our helicopter uses but that's going out in a wooded area, and it's quite clear. There's a few warm bodies running through the woods. But this here, when you go to a structure that's completely either partially ablaze or completely, the whole thing has to be lit up.
Yeah.
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 I want to get into a topic of, it's been a problem for a long time, but the occupational cancers that are kind of synonymous with this profession. Yeah. And I think that after 9/11, that's the first time that I started hearing about, years later, the very unique types of cancer that this profession brings.
Yeah, so, I suppose there's two ways of looking at it. We've got the members that have been on a long time, 20, 30 years, and with them you're looking for early detection, so it can be mitigated as best as it can. And then the new members, you're looking to prevent the exposure to the carcinogens. So we have everyone gets physical every year, and they get scanned for cancers, and particularly the ones that are more common amongst firefighters.
Yeah, they're unique to here.
Yeah, and so we do that, but we also, we want to prevent. So we made a big step forward when we got 2 bunker gears for everybody, but now we're sort of changing our mind. We've started a pilot on a quartermaster program where we would take the members' second gear back, but on every fire, the quartermaster will pull the riding list, see who's on the apparatus and what sizes they are, and actually go to the scene, and they'll swap out their bunker gear at the scene, because before they'd have a second set, but it would be at the station, so they'd be riding back to the station with their bunker gear being soiled, and they're sat with them carcinogens in the cab of the engine or truck. So we're getting to where we're going to swap them out on the scene, and they won't be in the cab with any carcinogens at all.
And did you start that program?
We started it a few months ago.
Do you know if other agencies do something similar than the quartermaster program, or is Dallas on the cutting edge of this?
There's, I think some agencies do it in some form or fashion, but
San Antonio does.
do they?
Okay,
We are on the cutting edge still. We're pretty creative.
good. Well, you have to be this job with the dangers and just honestly the education of the types of unique cancers that this profession has caused many deaths for years, and it was not talked about. It's kind of like the mental health world. You know what you know, and this was not talked about. And I know that after 9/11 happened, you started hearing whispers of these types of diseases.
Yeah. Plus we've had quite a few,
Right.
and we know the people, and it's sad, and we've been through that with them. So it's a big deal to us. We're pretty innovative, but if someone's doing something better than we are, then we should be doing it.
Yeah, I mean, no, listen. I will say that our wellness, even our wellness unit, was we stole some pieces from some other agencies that were doing it, and we built on that. And hey, that's okay.
Yeah,
and that's what you. It's like people want to come out and reach out and ask you or ask us for what practice or procedure you got here. Take it. If it saves a life, it's worth it.
Yep.
So I know that some of the equipment that is being used now, like at different extractors to clean the suits that you wear, that is becoming more and more. I'm also on the Dickey Foundation, the Dickey's Barbecue. Shout out Dickey's. I'm on their board as well, and we provide protective gear for police and fire across the country. So that's what we do, and we give out a lot of extractors from agencies across the country. So it's always nice to help, but if we don't know that somebody needs something, we only know what we know.
Yeah, that's true.
Throughout your fire, you've been here for almost 30 years, and what is your favorite assignment that you've had that really stands out as like, man, that if I could just go back to that moment and capture that and relive it?
The one I'm in.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I like the one I'm in. I'm not a joyous person. People don't see me. I always get told off by Susy because I'm not smiling.
I've seen you smile several times here.
Every once in a while I do, but I'm not an excitable person. I don't, look all jovial, but I do like this position. But I've liked a lot of my positions. I think it's hard to pick one, but I liked being a truck captain.
Okay.
I was a truck captain on Truck 49 for 5 or 6 years, and I really like that job. I'd say my favourite ones is that one and the one I'm in now.
Can I
go
just
ahead.
defend myself real quick?
Yes.
I never tell him off. I'm just saying, you're in the public
always tell
eye.
me off.
You're the chief.
You
You should be happy to have this
literally tell
position.
me off every day. You literally tell me off every day. You're
And
not smiling.
people
You're
come
pulling
to me.
faces.
People come to me and they say, "Why is he so mad? Why does he look so mad?" And I'm like, "That's just his face." So can you just smile a little bit?
Sorry, we're about to have a domestic dispute.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, you're having me around cops. Well, hey, the family violence unit's right above us. No,
I mean, Susie. Susie's been with me since I became interim, and even though I was number 2 on the department, you don't do a lot of public speaking. You don't. You just don't. And so I really wasn't expecting that much public speaking in this role. And we do bicker a bit, me and Susie, but she's done a lot for me. She's made me realise the importance of getting out there, talking to everybody, and the social media. I'm not a social media type person, but I see it. I see how important it is to communicate in a certain manner. I do need to smile more.
I've got several pics of you smiling at Bags for Badges with people coming up and posing and taking a photo with you.
No, I'll smile for pictures, but when I'm walking around, I'm not smiling.
I look at it as stoic. All right, can we use that word, stoic?
I guess you could call it that, yeah.
Okay.
I've got some questions about Susy here. How long have you been with Dallas Fire?
I just actually had my 2-year anniversary with DFR.
Okay, so DFR was and I can't stand DFR. I like Dallas Fire Department personally.
You're not the only one.
They've done a brilliant thing here in bringing you on, or somebody of your experience, right, who's familiar with the media. And we have officers that are working through it, and I think we do a fairly good job for being police officers with the media. Mm-hmm. But to have somebody who's been inside and has those connections and the understanding of that,
yeah,
I think that's a brilliant idea.
It is. It makes a big difference. It'd be surprising. When I became the chief, Susy lined up the interviews. I didn't really like it, and they're all in a row. But we went over the questions. It just made it easier. Like Susy having them relationships with the media and realizing that you want to have a good relationship with the media because they can make you look good, they can make you look bad. And so I was a bit resistant at first. It was like a week. It was a week, maybe 2.
Now you just fully accept it, right?
Yeah, now I just do as I'm told.
Well, I kind of forced my way in there.
Yeah.
But it is so important, and that's what I tell people is, just like you were saying before, the media doesn't really know how dangerous the great things that the fire department or even the police department are doing. And me coming in with the reporter's mind, I'm like, this would be cool. I know this would be a great story. I know there's a lot of life-saving that happens. I know there's a lot of great stories. But in general, if you've just come up through the fire department or through the police department, you don't know that it's okay to pitch that story. Me coming in as a reporter, I know I would need stories every single day, and this would be a great story. And so for us, it's been really good because now I know exactly what a reporter needs, what they want, and when they need it. And so when I give them a story, I'm like, I already have the interview set up. Here's what the visual is going to look like. And they're like, oh my God, thank you. And so I think it's really helped us. We're able to tell our own stories on our social media. And so it not only helps us, but it also, the members see that we care. They're seeing that their brothers and sisters are doing a great job and they're getting recognized. And so I think it's just a big deal to put those stories out there because, like you said, people don't know.
Yeah, and we go to a fire station now. We do. We go to we started when I was interim. We go to a fire station every week. Like every Friday afternoon, we go, and they can ask us anything. Now, it takes a long time to get around, but we go. Susy comes with me, and we solicit questions also, see what the concerns are, address them, and then we compile them, and then we mention them on Chief's Corner for the whole department. But that's made a big difference also, like just communicating. It's easy to write down our values on the computer, but they really need to meet us and see us and talk to us.
Yeah, one of the things when I first got on, I would talk to different firefighters and they were like, I just want to say, and this is with all due respect, but police and firefighters are gossipy, right?
Oh, yeah.
So the news spreads pretty fast.
So are the media people.
Well, that's true. But I'm not a media person anymore. I'm a DFR person. But they would say, we want to hear directly from the chiefs. And, because a lot of rumors go around and we don't know where they got started. So they said, we want to hear directly from the chiefs. And that's why we decided to do Chief's Corner, because you can hear it straight from his mouth. And before it was Chief Artist when I got on. And I think it really served to let the chiefs explain why things weren't happening or were happening. And that transparency really makes a big difference because now there's no question. Now they can see it for themselves and they're getting the explanation of why things are happening. And so it makes a difference because there's not that divide anymore.
Since you're on the topic, can you kind of tell us what Chief's Corner is? And I've watched them, but just to the listener, where they can find those.
Yeah, it's on. We post it to the IDS, and now it's on YouTube also, and it's something we do every quarter, and I think because I don't have a winning personality on TV, Susy gets on it as well, brightens it up, and it sort of works. God, I'm putting myself down.
I think that's the best compliment you're going to get is it sort of works.
It sort of
It
works.
sort of works,
Well-
like, because she counters my miserableness.
With Chief Artist, he's kind of like a happy-go-lucky guy, and it was okay to put him on camera by himself. He's comfortable in that situation. But Chief Ball was definitely not comfortable in that situation. So the guy that I shoot the Chief's corner with, I was like, hey, what do you think if I step in and just interview him? He always does better during interviews and not scripted. So that's how that came about.
And I'm not that uncomfortable. I'm just not an excited. I don't come across as excited.
You probably get more excited running into a burning house or structure than...
I'm more of an action type.
Yeah, of course. Well, that's okay, though. I mean, and it's something you can grow into and get more comfortable with. You always weren't... You described the first time you went inside a house, and you're like, man, I don't know about that. So that's something... This is similar, and it is out of the ordinary for a street cop, a firefighter, to be in front of a camera and speak. I mean, we talk every day in our life. Okay, it's not the the fear of public speaking is what the number one fear of everybody. Mm-hmm. But it's not the fear of speaking, because we speak every day. It's the fear of the judgment that we're worried about. And to have somebody like Susy that knows the media, knows the ins and outs, she knows when to push forward and she knows when to back the media off. That is a huge asset for your...
It is. It makes a big difference.
Also to realize your audience, because you guys speak in use certain terminology that the public doesn't know. And so you have to realize and remember, for them to understand, you have to use their, layman's terms, so to speak.
That's why I like to, when people like, because we have many agencies, including our own and yours, that on here, and they mention acronyms. Well, not everybody knows what that is, so kind of explain that for the listener, because they want to peek. They want to peek behind that badge. They want to peek behind the uniform of what's going on, because we only see what we see and have an idea. I mean, there's many shows on police and fire, and a lot of them are, ridiculously inaccurate.
Yeah.
And that's what they expect. But it's good to kind of like get these stories out there, not just to inspire, but to educate or motivate.
Yeah. I mean, I came in, I didn't know any of the acronyms. So I had to learn just the same as everybody else.
Yeah. No, I mean, if you listened even as going back as far as 2021, our first episodes on here, we've changed a lot. But, you see we have a flow here, but we have a loose idea of what we want to talk about. But if we have a rabbit hole, we're not scared to run down it. But that comes in time and getting out in front. And you're the 18th chief of the top 10 department in the country. I looked up y'all's ratings. Dallas Fire is highly rated in the nation. You are now the face, very handsome face, I might add. You're the face of this department, and I speak to your members, the men and women, and you're looked at as we say it here, a cop's cop. You're looked at her as a firefighter's firefighter, and they're very happy to have you lead them. But I understand you're may not comfortable with speaking and delivering a message. You're more of a man of action, but that's why you have Susy here to kind of get that message out, because people want to hear from the boss. That's why I'm super excited, and a lot of your ladies are happy to hear that accent on here.
Yeah, I just had to be convinced of how important it was, and now I'm convinced I show up to everything.
Good. Messaging is key, and messaging is key not just for the chief, but for everybody else. And it can, if you give a weak message or a bad message, that can resonate usually longer than a good one.
Well, what I always say, and what I told Chief Ball specifically, is no one is questioning your firefighter knowledge. But now, as the head of the 6th largest department in the country, people are looking to you as a leader, and they expect certain types of messaging. So you're supposed to be inspiring to your troops. You need to remember who your audience is, and this is a big responsibility, right? So the city council is watching, the city is watching, and that's why those messages are so important, because it is a serious job, but they want to see who is taking care of them.
But at the same time, you've got to remain true to who you are.
Yeah.
And that I don't think you're going to have much of a problem with that. You seem to be pretty comfortable with who you are.
Yeah. No, I stay myself.
Yeah, I think that really speaks to the authenticity of the message and how genuine you are. You know, there are plenty of people that want to get on and talk about themselves. You not wanting to says a lot as well.
Well, I wouldn't do that because, you know, in a department with 2,300 people, I do not have one of the dangerous jobs. Like, I would not sit here and talk about great things that I'm doing when there's all these firefighters, men and women, that are doing heroics and brave things every day. I'm not doing it. I'm sat at a desk a lot of the time. So I wouldn't, I'm not the most important. They are.
So I want to get into your vision, DFR. Again, talk to me. I mean, I am a layman when it comes to your profession. I could speak my lingo here and acronyms all day. But Medic One, can you tell us what that is?
You know, in an effort to be creative and have a bit of a different response, we've got two of them now, but it's a firefighter with a social worker, and they will make assist invalid calls mainly, and unsheltered people downtown, and it alleviates the engines and trucks from making them calls. I want to expand it. I want to expand it throughout the city, maybe 8, 10, and add some roles to their job. I want them to be able to transport. You know, I rode out with them and we made a run on somebody that had twisted their ankle. He was an older, unsheltered person. He didn't need an emergency ambulance, but he did need to go somewhere. He needed to be taken to the hospital. And they called for an ambulance. So then we had this unit that's supposed to make us more efficient, calling for an ambulance. So what I want to do is set up these units with a barrier, with a back seat in the front, where they can take someone like that to the place that would give them the most help. Right now, when we transport someone, it has to be to an emergency room if they're in an ambulance. I vision these units being able to take them to the correct resources instead of taking folks to an emergency room and then getting turned out straight away. It'd be better if these could take these people to the best place that could help them, whether it's a treatment centre. We can also give them medications that help them get off opioids, and we can get them started on that. And so I'd like to do something like that and expand this program. It will reduce the runs for the rest of the department, and again, a more logical response rather than 4 firefighter paramedics on a fire engine, fire truck. So I'd like to do something like that, make us a bit more efficient.
Yeah, efficiency in this city is, I mean, you're always looking for better ways to get there.
Yeah.
No, that's great. When did this program start?
It's been maybe a year. We piloted it with one, then we added another one. And again, now I just want to add some roles to them and get a load more of them. So they're helping the whole city.
So it's very new, a new program.
Yeah, and in inclement weather, we pick up the unsheltered, and that's something that they could do year round and take them to whether it's a shelter or somewhere
the bridge
safe.
Yeah, okay. And that's extreme heat, and I mean the cold is. Thing that we're in Texas, but the extreme heat is just as deadly.
Yeah, either or. Yeah.
Another thing that I read, I did a little bit of homework. I did some stalking on you. Is the improve the relationships with the community. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and that's something I never really did in the past. But I again, having to learn and know the importance of getting out there. It does make a difference. I go to everything I'm invited to, and I talk to folks. People sometimes come up and ask me why things are a certain way. I explain it, or they'll give me some suggestions. And it is important to be seen out there. It's part of my job, and we want a good rapport with the community. I've seen great heroics from the community also, like, you know, in situations, in fire situations, I've seen people do some brave things. I really believe that if they treat the public out there with dignity and respect, independent of their social class, it makes them feel better. It helps with them their mental wellness. Just being kind to the folks that they make runs on. Sometimes some of our members can get a bit annoyed because the emergency is, you know, not what they would consider a legit emergency, but it's their emergency, and everyone needs to be treated fairly, kind, and I think if our members do that, it makes them feel better about themselves.
Of course, and that's where Susy helps out with that relationship.
For sure. I mean, that's why I came in and I thought we need to take a look at our social media and see what we're putting out there, because, you know, we're one of the biggest fire departments and we're not really telling our own story. And it's really important to do that. One of the things we do with our life-saving award, which is somebody who goes into cardiac arrest and comes out of the hospital neurologically intact, we give those awards every Friday. They're starting to become a regular thing because our guys are saving so many lives. But we try and connect the survivors with the paramedics who are on the scene. And I think that really makes a difference for both, because the survivors, obviously, they bring their family and they're really grateful. And our paramedics, our firefighters don't really get to see the outcomes. You know, they drop them off at the hospital and then that's pretty much all they know. So when they get to connect and really see the outcome of their work, it really makes a difference. And firefighters will always tell you, oh, well, we don't do this for, you know, the attention. This is just what we do. And that may be true, but I always say it feels good to know that people care about what you're doing.
No, I know a lot of people say, I don't do this job for awards and all this, but a pat on the back is a pat on the back. And getting to see the outcome of your hard work. And you talk about, you see acts of courage all the time from your people throughout your whole career. You yourself has been in that position to see a finality of it, of what your work did to help somebody. That's got to be extremely rewarding. And that I've been seeing all your life-saving awards. I've been seeing them more frequently because I follow you, and I think that's really important to give that pat on the back. It can go in their jacket, on their resume, and it does matter. It does matter to make them feel appreciated.
Yeah, and people will be astounded on how many there is. There's actually, you know, they don't all make social media, but we give out at least one a week, and that's just for the cardiac arrests. You know, we're saving quite a lot of lives now from the blood transfusion, which is a new program. We're going to expand that. We're about to expand it, but a lot of lives are being saved with that. And all the time people are being pulled out of fires as well.
Or even the accidents, the horrific accidents that you take people to the hospital or work on them on scene and on the way to the hospital.
When you talk about some of those incidents, it's a lot of times it's a bystander who starts the CPR or who uses the AED, and they're starting the whole process before we get there.
AED.
External automatic defibrillator.
Okay. Well, hey, I got to know.
See, I still don't know all the acronyms.
Boss does.
But so a lot of times it's a bystander who starts the process, and then DFR comes in and takes over. So it is important to acknowledge the bystanders and the heroics that are going on within the community. And when we have those people there, they always are grateful, and our paramedics are grateful that the bystanders started the life-saving measures.
Especially in today's society where it's more common for someone to film it than to actually step in and do something. So that's nice. I like that.
Exactly. So it kind of brings everybody together, and, you know, that's always a good feeling. Nobody does this for the awards or the accolades, but nonetheless, people are people, and it's always nice to have that good feeling.
Well, I've been seeing more and more of those awards in the post, and I always think, man, they could be getting one of those every other day. The amount of contacts and literally life and death in the ambulance ride to a hospital. I know you would be cranking them out every other day if but it is nice, and it's nice to see. I'm saying it from a police agency looking at our brothers and sisters on the red side, seeing them getting these accolades, and I know they're not doing it for that, but I also know, I understand that, man, that has to make them feel good, that they can go home and they may not share it with the person in the fire station, but they go home and share it with their family and their significant other or their kids that may see that.
Yeah, I mean, we post it, and then there's people saying, oh, that's my uncle, that's my cousin. And it's just really nice to share that, and they appreciate it. And it's good for our city to see the firefighters out there doing a great job.
Yeah.
Well, we live in it is a sometimes necessary evil. We live in a social media world, and we have to adapt, just like you and I both have had to adapt to the first responder world with the technology, public perception, just the education piece that needs to be provided. We have to adapt to that, and I run our social medias for ours, and we're constantly putting out things and keep a memory alive, right? But also show the amazing work that's done every day that doesn't make the news.
Yeah, and it's a good, we don't do it for this reason, but it's a good recruitment tool and retention, because it means something to them getting recognised. It also lets other folks see what great they could do if they joined our department.
Yeah, and I think everybody was kind of reluctant to that when I got on. And I would say, send me photos. I know that people like to see action. They want to see our Swiftwater team. They want to see fires. They want to see all of that. And so I think I've finally said it enough where now the firefighters send me stuff, send me cool videos, and then I'm able to post it. So they're turning the corner after I've tried to convince them that it is important for our image overall.
You said something. You talked about a program. It wasn't in my notes, but the blood transfusion program. Yeah. What is that?
It's where we actually have blood on the shift supervisor cars. We've got them on 2 at the moment. So, in the field, we'll go and, if need be, someone's got a trauma that's really bad, they'll go and transfuse blood. And we used to give saline, and, it just... the blood carries oxygen, like it's going to work better. So we decided to try that out. And I suppose it's been going for just a few months. And we're already going to expand it to another 2. So there'll be 4 that go, because there's a demand. But we've saved quite a few lives. One of them is we're going to have them on public safety. A young woman saved her life. And it's pretty good.
No, I've not heard about that, and that's another thing that the public needs to know.
Yeah.
I need to know as an officer, because
it could help an officer.
Yeah, absolutely could help an officer, and also that kind of messaging, the innovation, the forward thinking. You want other people, young 18, 20 something year old, looking at an agency and going, man, I want to work for that guy.
Yeah.
I want to be a part of that family. Chief, that's amazing that you start up the blood transfusion program, and it's only been going a few months, right? That was implemented as you were interim?
Yeah.
Okay. That is going to save lives, and we're going to have you on here for a part 2 to talk about that expansion, because I'm curious to see where this goes a year from now, of how it's grown and how many lives saved. I think it's really important.
Yeah, I knew it was going to save quite a few lives.
One thing that I believe that has been a recruiting tool for us is the implementation of this wellness unit and this mission for the taking care of our people. Because if I'm on the outside looking in and I'm going to see, oh, they got this, they do these different programs, and they put their people first to make sure they're okay to go out and serve, that's got to be a draw for anybody.
Yes, it can be very disenchanting when you think that the company doesn't care about you.
Well, then also you as a boss, I would imagine you're leading this department, and you've been other level chiefs, and you've been other ranks of supervisor roles. It's part of the job. Like you said, it's an inherently dangerous job. But you as a boss, you have to put people in places that are in the line of fire and in danger.
Yeah, but you've still got to make sure they're as safe as humanly possible, and part of that is their mental well-being.
We have put an emphasis even on the department. I mean, go back to age-old policing. Nobody wore a vest. Now we have bulletproof vests, and now we have all these other different technologies that we put and procedures that we put in to protect us physically. But the mental, to have a bulletproof mind is just as important, not just for the firefighter or the police officer, but for their family that they have to go home to.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's the same way for the police, but the more safety measures that are in sort of enables them to be put in a more dangerous situation.
Oh, absolutely. And you have to care. And we talked about the grief of y'all's job, saving a life or losing a life, because there's only so much you can do, and everybody's life has an expiration date, sadly. But your family, your fire family, sadly has to be there, have a front row seat to that, and that could weigh on you because they're there with their families at a lot of the times, and that, I don't care who you are, how tough you are, or how long you've been doing a job, that's got to weigh on you.
Yeah, and also, there's the death that you see, but there's also it's combined with actually being in dangerous situations also. So you're getting it from both sides. So we have to really be mindful of that.
Why is making wellness a priority for you and your department?
Well, because it's I think it's pretty widely known that we've had quite a few suicides, and quite a few of them under my watch, and and that always brings it to light more. You don't put that much focus on until you hear something like of a suicide, but it's going on every day, and for our sustainability, we have to really get ahead of this. And again, I would hate to see some other departments doing something good that we're not doing, because we need any intervention that we can possibly come up with to make our members as safe as possible.
Yeah, to have a member and a firefighter, the men and women, and that's healthy in mind, body, and soul is key to providing a better service to the community.
Yep. Yeah, how well can we take care of the members of this community if our members aren't taking care of themselves?
Yeah, if they're falling apart. I mean, we're really good at helping and saving other people's lives, but sometimes we don't take a good look in the mirror to want to save ourselves.
Yeah.
And the longer you kick that can down the road, the worse it gets.
It's not going away.
And the stigma. I mean, everybody likes to throw out bumper sticker phrases, the stigma, break the stigma. Those are nice and good, but until you put resources towards that mission, it's all talk. It is a bumper sticker. Until you actually put resources in, talk about it, come out swinging, and say, we're going to do this for our department to save lives and extend these careers and extend their minds and body past this career.
No, I like to say that we're one of the best departments in the country, but sometimes I think, how great are we if we're letting our members down like this? And that's part of it. Part of keeping our members well is what's going to make us one of the best fire departments.
You're sitting in the Dallas Wellness Unit now, as I said, and I'm also, this is for the Assist Yasser Foundation, and our counseling services. I know that a lot of your members are aware of it, and Casey's also actually on our board, but it is a conversation that you cannot talk about enough as far as pushing the message of it's okay to get help, and it's okay, and we're going to keep thinking of new ways to get you in that space, because what works for me is not going to work for Justin. It's not going to work for Susy or Kent. You have to keep finding different modalities and approaches to the unique person.
Yeah, we've got to, we've got the peers in place, but we've got to encourage our members to actually reach out and talk to them. And, one of the things is they've got to know that it is anonymous. The information they're giving regardless what it is. It's not coming to me. I don't want involvement in that. It's not, nothing's going to be punitive. It's they need to go with their problems and get it sorted out.
Yeah, because like you said, the late night calls have got to be, your heart skips a beat, as you said. It has been talked about, and I've seen it on the news, and I've seen you speak on it, that there's been 10 suicides in 5 years. And from our department standpoint, what I know is that doesn't even count all the ideation of the people that are thinking about it and contemplated this, and that's sad to think about, but it is reality.
Yeah, that's scary for me to think about. There's been 10, but that's just there's many more out there that are contemplating, and that's why we have to get ahead of it, and that's why I reached out to UT Southwestern to get some expert advice. I'm gonna do whatever I can.
Well, it's got to be encouraging for your people to actually hear from their boss, and that's one reason I want to highlight this topic coming from you. To all the firefighter friends that I have out there, I am tired of replacing my Facebook profile pic with a thin red line profile pic, and then every few months it quietly goes away. Everybody goes back to life as normal, and then another one mysteriously pops back up. And I've sit in this very room. I've talked to officers with the ideation, and we've got them help. It's okay, and that's a good thing. They need to come forward and talk about it, because there's somebody, as desperate as they may feel or as low as they may find themselves, there is somebody that actually cares about them. And I talked about this with Chief Stoy. I heard something recently, and it seems so simple, but it is so powerful, that when you talk to somebody that's in a suicidal state, or that they have suicidal ideation, that pathway of despair, there's many pathways to despair, but once you're there, if you could just kind of reach out and tell them, well, can't you wait to do it tomorrow? Give them something to think about. Stop and think. Put it off. And it is something so simple, but I've read many stories of people that have actually attempted, that survived, that then they have a new lease on life and they have a new perspective. And the moment they tried or attempted, they wish they could take it back. But that is something that they succeed. There's no coming back.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. I mean, I've dealt with a few people on the fire department that more intimately that were suicidal, and I've had legit attempts, and I've seen how their perspective has changed after the fact. And I sort of get a bit concerned sometimes about what I say on Chief's Corner or what I say at a station, because I'm not trained. I don't know the best words to put out there on this topic. I need to learn more myself, but it does make me a bit apprehensive. I don't want to say something wrong. You know what I mean?
No, and I will say that I've had training, and I've been to multiple trainings, probably more in the last 3 years than the other 25 years combined on this topic and in this mental health space. And you can never have enough training. You can never have enough conversations. You're never going to get it right. And I will say that you and I have helped, and Kent, we've helped several people out in the community for decades that we never see again, and we don't know. There's no connection, and we don't really know how their life went after we left them. But when I'm dealing with a cop or another first responder that's down that deep in such a dark place, I can personally say that it is scary as hell. I'm like terrified that I'm going to do and say the wrong thing, because there's so much at risk.
Yeah.
Kudos for y'all I know your vision and I know your mission, expanding your peer support. Love Casey and Marion and Ivan. If you need anything from our OWL unit, you have my number, and Casey and I, we speak all the time. And then Assist the Officer Foundation will continue providing resources for your men and women, because this is something we just cannot keep ignoring or pushing down, because it's the definition of insanity you're never going to have a different outcome if you just keep doing the same thing over and over.
Yeah, no, it's very, very inspiring what you're doing. I'm a bit embarrassed I've not been fully involved in the past, but now I know. So you'll get a lot of support from us. We really appreciate what you're doing for us and the police. And we're with you all the way.
Thank you, boss. I appreciate that. And none of your men and women do as well. So I have a final question for you. To all the current firefighters, men and women on the department now, and any ones that they're on the fence of actually applying for Dallas Fire and Rescue, you being their new leader at the helm, the 18th chief in your long history, what can they expect from Justin Ball moving forward?
Well, I'll tell you this about me. Like, I wouldn't want this job just for the title or role. Like, it would be very embarrassing to me if we don't move forward on this department and make it just get better and better. I don't want to take steps backwards. I want to be the best department. I want the members to be safe. I want all the members to know I've got their back, and I've got plans. Plans to reduce the run volume for them. Just they need to be safe and happy, and that's how we're going to become the best department.
Hey brother, hey sister, I'll never give up on you. Hey Mrs., hey mister, I'll see this all the way through. No matter how far the sun and the moon, I'll never give up on you. Down when you're lonely, I'll pull you up. Life leaves you heavy when the going gets tough. I'll be your shoulder, together we'll run. Up from the bottom, yeah, we'll rise above. Hey brother, hey sister, I'll never give up on you. Hey Mrs., hey mister, I'll see this all the way through. No matter how far the sun and the moon, I'll never give up on you. I'll never give up on you. Hey brother, hey sister, I'll never give up on you. Hey Mrs., hey mister, I'll see this all the way through. No matter how far for the gold and the blue, I'll never give up on you.